Hi everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel if you're a returning viewer or subscriber. In today's video I'm going to be filming, I think it's part 6 in my book haul series. Got some things to say about this series. So if you're a returning viewer or subscriber, you would know that I have been filming kind of a book haul a month for the past few months. I basically bought a lot of books and then not filmed any book hauls for a long time, so I was kind of catching up with myself. And I think we've finally caught up, but I am still purchasing books, just probably not at a rate as I was previously. All the books I have to mention in this haul and in future hauls are ones that I bought within the past couple of months or so. So they're all fresh in my mind, which is a good sign because it means that we are close to the end. So I'm not going to call this a series anymore, but I will link a playlist which has got all my book hauls in down below. I filmed many book hauls on this channel and I think that would be helpful if anyone wanted to just like binge a couple of book hauls, because I know the feeling. They're fun videos to watch. So without rambling on and on in the intro, I'm going to get on to the video and I'll show you the 15 books that I have purchased kind of semi-recently. So the first book we have to mention here is Beautiful Losers by Leonard Cohen. This is a little bit of a controversial pick, but basically I really like Leonard Cohen. I love his music. I've read his poetry, but I love his music specifically. I love his lyrics and I think he's just a genius in that regard. And this is actually a novel that he's written. I haven't read any of his novels. I'm not even sure how many he's written. This could be the only one. I literally have no idea, but I just saw this in the charity shop and it was £2 and I was just like, I'll pick it up. I've since heard that it is kind of a little bit, it's one of those books you kind of love or you hate. First published in 1966, Beautiful Losers demonstrates that its author is not only a superb songwriter but also a novelist of visionary power. Funny, harrowing and fiercely moving, it's a classic erotic tragedy, incandescent in its prose and exhilarating for its risky union of sexuality and fate. So I'm really not sure how I feel about this, but the Boston Sunday Herald said, brilliant, explosive, a fountain of talent, James Joyce is not dead. He lives in Montreal under the name of Cohen, writing from the point of view of Henry Miller, which is just crazy high praise, which obviously I would expect to be kind of associated with him. I can already tell from just flipping through this book that it's so kind of fragmented. It just genuinely seems like he's just kind of spilled everything that's in his head. I put it down on paper. Like, look at this conversation exchange. Like, what is happening? I could not tell you. When I saw it in the charity shop and I looked up on Goodreads, I realised it had been on my TBR, but I think I'd just thrown all of Cohen's work on there. But yeah, this is a fantastic cover, if anything, and you know, I might love it, might hate it. We'll have to see. I hate to remind you of this, but Book Depository did indeed close. So I did my final orders. It was meant to be a final order and I ordered one too many things, but whatever. So I basically went on there and I was like, what do I get? I could get any books. I really want to, you know, waste all my money on books. But, you know, I have to. It's Book Depository. I've been ordering from that website since 2015, I believe. And I was just like absolutely heartbroken. It was truly, I hope Jeff Bezos knows that this was like one of the worst things that could have happened to me. But yeah, aside from that, let's just put our feelings aside. I did choose to pick up some books and I wanted to get ones that were either unavailable in bookstores and Amazon and usual places that I know are going to live forever, at least for a longer time than Book Depository, and I also wanted to pick up books that were expensive on those other platforms. So I picked up some long-term wish list books which I've been eyeing up for honestly years at this point. So the first of those was the Unabridged journals of Sylvia Plath. This book is always either out of stock on Amazon or extremely expensive. This is just like a collection of journals of Sylvia Plath's. I don't think it's her entire life, published in their entirety. 2 journals that Plath's husband unsealed just before his death. There has been an abridged version in the past, but this is unabridged, so it's just this giant book. It's like 700 pages and I've started it, but I'm only about 15 pages in. I can already tell this is going to take me a long time to get through. But basically this is one of those books that you can literally just flip open to a random page and there'll be some absolutely incredible line. And this is just her diaries. This is just Miss Sylvia Plath's diaries. No one was even going to read these, but she was still writing in such beautiful kind of prose. Stunning. Anyways, I've seen so many beautiful quotes and I also was particularly inspired to pick this one up because I recently read Jane Birkin's diaries and I loved that experience so much. That was a 5-star read for me and that kind of inspired me to pick up more diaries. Seeing as this one's been on my TBR for so long, that was the one I decided to purchase. I also got a couple of lispector, Clarice Lispector's works. I got Agua, Viva and I got The Passion According to G.H. These are 2 books that I wanted particularly because gorgeous editions from New Directions. You put them together, they make up her face. And the back too. There are 4 books in total in this set. I saw that the other 2 were much cheaper on Amazon and also in stock on Amazon, so I decided to ignore those 2 and just pick up these 2. So first of all we have Agua Viva. I've heard so many good things about this one. I'm not really sure what it's about, but it is kind of written in a stream of consciousness style, and this line hooked me. It says, an unordered meditation on the nature of life and time. But yeah, 2 people I follow absolutely adore this book and I'm hoping I will too. Clarice Lispector is also a legend. And then The Passion According to G.H. is about a woman who walks into her bedroom and she sees I was gonna say beetle, it's a cockroach. A cockroach crawling out of her wardrobe. Panicking, slams the door on her and she accidentally kills it. and then she has like an existential crisis. She absolutely spirals. I'm excited to witness that. That sounds so mean of me. I just think that's a great concept for a book, basically. Like, I'm sure we've all killed so many different bugs in our lives, but like unintentionally killing something and then noticing you've done it is just genuinely, I do kind of sympathise with this lady, or empathise with her, because I have had moments when I've accidentally like trodden on like a little bug and I've just been like momentarily heartbroken. I feel her. Okay, then my mum was making an Amazon order. She wanted to get free shipping on the order, so she was like, is there anything you need? And I was like, there's nothing I need, but there's books that I definitely want out there in the world. The Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I always want to say the Happily Ever After playlist, because ever after, but it's not that. It's a Happy Ever After playlist. 2 years after losing her fiance, Sloane Moran can't seem to get her life back on track, but one troublemaking pup with the take me home look in his eyes is about to change everything. With her new pet by her side, Sloane finally starts to feel more like herself. Then after weeks of unanswered texts, Tucker's owner reaches out. He's a musician on tour in Australia, and bottom line, he wants Tucker back. Well, Sloane's not about to give up the dog without a fight, but what if this Jason guy really loves Tucker? As their flirty texts turn into long calls, Sloane can't deny a connection. There's no telling what could happen when they meet in person. The question is, how long will Jason really stick around, and is it possible for Sloane to survive another heartbreak? Abby Jimenez is the author of The Friend Zone, and this is technically book 2 in that kind of 3-book series that she wrote. They're kind of interconnected standalones, so you can read this separately as a standalone, and that's what I intend to do, because I'm gonna be honest, The Friend Zone doesn't entirely interest me, but I think if I really love her writing or whatever, then I might go back and read that one. But this just sounded great. It's got a dog as like one of the main characters. It's also One of Us is Famous trope, which is stunning. And I think also that kind of interferes with the book. Like, that's what the plot is about. It's like his career interfering with their relationship, but he's got like such a cool career. Big fan of music. I am a bit of a fangirl for some musicians. You can kind of put 2 and 2 together and realise why I picked this book up. Also, my #1 favourite band ever is Arctic Monkeys. I'm literally wearing an Arctic Monkeys t-shirt right now. Unintentional. And this book has got a playlist in the front, and so it's got a song for each chapter, and one of the songs is Do I Wanna Know, which, I mean, it's the most basic Arctic Monkey song out there. I think so, or it used to be, but I'm sold. Number 33, Don't Wanna Know. Like, what? It's got Tame Impala, it's got the Black Keys, it's got Bring Me the Horizon, Radiohead, The Neighbourhood, Mazzy Star. Like, what? Usually it's just Taylor Swift and Harry Styles, which, like, I know there's a lot of Swifties, lots of Harrys out there. I don't have anything highly against them, but they're not my kind of thing. Like the Wombats, the Smiths. Are you kidding? I have such high hopes for this book because she's got fantastic music taste, and that kind of sells me on the book. I found out about the playlist after having bought the book and not really being interested in it, but I have, like I said, extremely high hopes for it, so we shall see. I'll let you know how I feel about it. So as I've already told you, I made the book depository order. It was my final order. I was like, au revoir, book depository. It was very hard kind of checking out without adding like 1,000 things to my basket because there were so many things I wanted. And then I went on Amazon like 2 days later and I realised that another one of the Clarice Lispector books had gone up from like 10 quid to like 25 quid, and I was like, no, I need it eventually, so I'm just gonna spend like £8 on book depository for it. So I did indeed make one final book depository order, and that was for Near to the Wild Heart by Clarice Lispector, obviously. So we've got part 3 in the series. I still don't own part 4, but I will get to it probably after I pick some of these up because I might hate her writing style or whatever. And if that's the case, then I obviously don't want to own all of her books. This is Clarice Lispector's debut collection. The first novel, the story of the feral, amoral Joanna, announces one of the great careers in 20th century literature. I genuinely have no idea what it's about, but I've heard amazing things like I have about all of her works, and maybe I'll start with this one because it is her debut. There's a little bookstore that's kind of semi-local to me, and they sell brand new books for £3.50. The selection is always kind of completely random, but I'm always very excited to go in there and see what they have up for offer. Some books I've never heard of and lots that I have heard of. I bought a couple of books from them in the past, and time recently when I was in there I saw 2 that I was interested in. So first off we have How to Be Famous by Caitlin Moran, another book kind of focused on the music scene, which, like I said, I've already got a thing for, so this sounds brilliant. This author actually wrote a book called How to Build a Girl, which has been on my TBR for a very, very long time. I'd never heard of this one. When I saw it was the same author, I was interested immediately, and then the back sounded great. Joanna Morrigan, aka Dolly Wilde, has it all. She's 19, lives in her own flat in London, and writes for the coolest music magazine in Britain. Her star is rising, just not quickly enough for her liking. Then John Kite, Joanna's unrequited love, has an album go to #1. Suddenly John exists on another plane of reality, that of the famous, a world of rabid fans and VIP access. Joanna lacks the traditional trappings of fame, famous parents, mind-scorching hotness, exotic scandals, etc. So she does the only thing a self-respecting lady sex adventurer can do. She starts a magazine column critiquing the lives and follies of the famouses around her. But as Joanna skyrockets to fame herself, she begins to realise that with celebrity comes sacrifice, and hers may mean giving up the one person she was determined to keep. Sounds great. If you're at all interested in that world, you will also see why I was so drawn to it. I'll let you know what I think. Also, look at this iconic kind of Tumblr 2014 cover. We've got a cheetah print coat and cheetah print socks, knee socks, combat boots, cigarette, like, my teenage self would have been reblogging this. And the other book that I bought in that shop, also for £3.50, was A Theatre for Dreamers. This is the book that I'm actually currently in the middle of. I'm filming a vlog for actually because I featured it in my 5-star predictions video, and I wanted to read a book from that video in a separate vlog to see if it is indeed going to be 5 stars. And this is the book that I chose for that. So this follows a girl called Erica in the 1960s. After the death of her mother, she escapes her family home and her semi-abusive father to the Greek island of Hydra, and while she's there, she gets swept up in a circle of bohemian poets, painters, musicians, writers and artists living tangled lives. Sounds like a dream. And also one of the characters in this is literally Leonard Cohen. Like, I mean, I said in the 5-star prediction video, this book's either going to be extremely mid or one of the best things I've ever read in my entire life, so we shall see. So far, so good, but you'll obviously be able to see in my vlog that's coming very soon, hopefully, as soon as I finish that book. I have a couple of charity shop purchases. I love to pop into the charity shop to buy books. Every single one of my hauls has multiple charity shop books in it. The first of which is One Italian Summer by Rebecca Serle. Don't know how to say this, but yes. It's on my summer TBR and it's also on my July TBR, so hopefully I pick this one up this month. I'm really hoping to get to it because it's only a short little book and it's also perfect for the summertime, obviously. About a girl called Katie, and she... Is that right? Yes, Katie. Her mother Carol passes away, but they'd always had a plan to go to Italy together and they never fulfilled that dream. So Katie travels over to Italy on her own to kind of live out that dream for the both of them, and while she's there she runs into her mother. So I think this is a little bit of magical realism, which I don't tend to get on extremely well with, but I'd heard good things about this book. I want to be in Italy for the summer, so this is ideal. And it was £1.50 in the charity shop, so I mean, I'm going into it with an open mind, but yeah, hopefully this will be mentioned in my July wrap up at the end of the month and I'll let you know all of my thoughts. Next up we have Wonder Woman, Warbringer, also £1.50. DC basically did a collaboration with lots of the current YA authors of the time, and they basically got them to write about one specific superhero within the DC universe. So Leigh Bardugo wrote about Wonder Woman and serle wrote about Catwoman, and there's a couple of others in this series as well. I've read the one about Batman, which was written by Marie Lu, and I enjoyed it but I didn't love it. But I love Leigh Bardugo and I love serle, so I want to read their takes on this task and see what I think. So I'm not sure when I'll get to this, but whenever I'm feeling like dipping back into her writing style, because I've read most of her books, I will pick this one up. An absolutely iconic charity shop purchase. This is I Used to Be Charming by babitz, and this is a collection of kind of her short stories and essays and things like that. This book was £3.99 in the charity shop, and it was on sale in a charity shop for £1.99, so it was a complete steal. These books are usually quite expensive. I own a couple of babitz work. I haven't read any of it so far, but I have very high hopes. Gathering 50 pieces written between 1975 and 1997, including the full text of a book-length investigation into the pioneering lifestyle brand Fiorucci. That was such a cool find. I have a book I purchased full price, Getting Lost by Annie Ernaux. I read Simple Passion this year. Absolutely loved it. One of my favourite books of the year. 5 stars. I think about it almost daily. Simple Passion is an affair that Annie Ernaux had. It's kind of like a blend of fiction and non-fiction, but Getting Lost is the non-fiction, the diaries that kind of documented that affair. So it's kind of like a little bit of a companion book to Simple Passion. Seeing as I enjoyed Simple Passion so much and I gave it 5 stars, I decided to pick this one up, and I want to read it kind of soon so I can compare the two or keep the experience of Simple Passion running a little bit longer. I purchased this basically as soon as I finished Simple Passion, and I'm very excited to read it hopefully again this summer. I made another cheeky book order and bought a bunch of books full price, but ones I've been wanting for a very long time. I found a website that basically makes American editions more accessible to you without charging you a massive customs fee. Sadly, it's not as cheap as Book Depository. I bought 3 books on there. The first is The Lover by Marguerite Duras. This book's winner of the Francis Prix Goncourt. It's been praised by critics throughout the world since its first publication in 1984. Set in the pre-war Saigon of Marguerite Duras' childhood, this haunting story of the tumultuous affair between an adolescent French girl and her Chinese lover takes place in the waning days of France's colonial empire. So Duras was a French author. She died in the 90s. She did write a bunch of screenplays and film scripts, but this is probably her most iconic piece of, not written work, what is it? Novel, let's just say. I picked this book up because I saw this cover everywhere all over Instagram, so I was kind of drawn in by the cover, but then I saw so many people reviewing it and pointing out absolutely breathtaking quotes. I was like, yep, sold. So here we are, and it's finally in my possession. Clothes, music, boys by Viva Albertine. Some Goodreads pages call this book Clothes, Music, Boys, but I think it is actually Clothes, Music, Boys. This is a memoir by Viv Albertine about her life in music. She was a member of the Slits. It was a punk rock band throughout the latter half of the 20th century. This is basically all about her involvement in music, the boys she was hanging around with and having things to do with, and then the clothes she was wearing while all of that was going on. And what's really cool about this book, as well as just being broken up into normal chapters about going through like different events in her life, there's this section at the back which is called Clothes, Music, Boys, and she actually goes through like periods of her life of like 3 years and tells you in great detail about the exact sort of clothes she was wearing, the exact music she was listening to, exact boys she was having things to do with, which I think is awesome. I have flicked through parts of this book and she doesn't shy away from anything at all, so I think I'm getting a really kind of honest depiction of like the grittier side of the music scene, which I am thrilled about. So excited. I've heard so many good things, and I love this cover, this edition of it. This is published by Viva. The final book in this haul is the most beautiful one by far, and also the book that I featured as my most beautiful book in my mid-year book freakout tag. I'll have that link if you're interested, and that is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I mean, look at this. Isn't this just ridiculous? It's one of the most beautiful books that I own. Maybe it is the most beautiful book, but definitely the most beautiful book I've bought recently across this past year. This is the Favour and Favour special edition, and it's spectacular. So I've never read The Bell Jar, and I've also never read anything from Sylvia Plath other than those 15 pages that I said I read in her diaries. The Bell Jar, Sylvia Plath's only novel, was originally published in 1963 under the pseudonym Victoria Lucas. The novel is partially based on Plath's own life and has become a modern classic. Celebrated for its darkly funny and razor-sharp portrait of a society which refuses to take women's aspirations seriously, it has sold millions of copies worldwide. I believe this is about a woman living in New York, and it's about her kind of deteriorating mental health, and it's something that she kind of spoke about before that was like a thing that people spoke about. Very, very interested in this book. I wouldn't say I'm excited, I'm slightly anxious for it because I'm worried that it might put me in a little bit of a bad state, but it's a classic and I definitely do want to read it. So we shall see when I pick it up, but I have no idea yet. I think it's got an iconic first line. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. I knew it. Very iconic line. That's that. Most beautiful book, and also the final book we have in the haul. So there you go, everybody. Those are the 15 books that I have purchased over the past couple of months. I'm very, very intrigued by every single one of them, obviously. As I was collecting the book, I was going through my shelves, like taking them off. I was honestly like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to read like literally all of these. So if you're interested to see me kind of read and review these books over the next couple of months into years, you are very welcome to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, you can give it a thumbs up, and that lets me know that you had a good time while you were here. I did want to say that even though my book haul series will be ending, the book hauls will keep coming, obviously, and I will still be filming them every month to month and a half. So they will be a regular occurrence on my channel, and one that kind of will occur as much as it has previously. But all the books that I'll be mentioning are ones that I will have purchased kind of recently, not like months back, which is exciting. As to how many books I purchased over the next few months is completely dependent on what gems I managed to find discounted, like in the charity shop or on various websites or in that discount store like I was talking about. I rarely buy books full price just because I don't have the funds for that, but I have a lot of fun kind of delving into the charity shops and things like that and finding books that have been on my wish list for a very long time. Like I said, thank you so much for watching, thank you so much for being here. I'll see you on Saturday for another video. Bye.